On May 27th at about 5 p.m., detectives from the Long Beach Police Department were in the city of Compton conducting an investigation, follow-up to a crime which had occurred here in Long Beach. While in that area of Alondra and Atlantic Avenue, the detectives witnessed a walk-up shooting to a nearby residence. This shooting had nothing to do with the investigation that our detectives were up there handling. Our detectives observed 3 male suspects, all armed, running away from this residence after firing multiple shots at it, enter into a green Ford vehicle and flee the scene. The detectives immediately gave chase to the suspects, following them, and within a couple of blocks, the armed suspects opened fire on the detectives, striking one of our detectives' vehicles. Luckily, he was uninjured. These detectives were able to continue following the suspects where they entered the southbound 710 freeway from Alondra, heading back into the city of Long Beach. As the suspects attempted to exit the freeway on the southbound 710, the detectives had called for assistance from marked units of the Long Beach Police Department, and a traffic stop was effected on the off-ramp where an officer-involved shooting occurred. Several guns were recovered from the scene that are linked to the suspects inside of the suspect vehicle. We had 3 suspects which were shot by both detectives and patrol officers at this scene of the officer-involved shooting. At this time, 1 suspect is dead. He has expired at a local hospital. 1 suspect remains in critical condition, and a 3rd suspect is in stable condition at a local hospital. New information to this case in preliminary review by our homicide detectives indicates that we had an officer who was injured last night by gunfire. This was not apparently from the suspect, but perhaps from one of the officers who was involved in the officer-involved shooting. We are still working on that information at this point. The wounded officer was treated at a local hospital and released late last night. Long Beach Police Department detectives are working in conjunction with Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department detectives on the original shooting that they witnessed while in the city of Compton on their investigation. Along with this, we are working with the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office and the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office. The District Attorney's Office is standard for an investigation in all officer-involved shootings. With respect to the suspects firing at the detectives in the city of Compton, we had additional district attorneys who were dispatched to the scene from the Crimes Against Peace Officers Unit, which is a special unit that handles specific crimes against on-duty officers. They too are conducting an investigation and will be handling that portion of the case where the Long Beach detectives were the victims of the shooting by the suspects in Compton. As you know, there was a second officer-involved shooting which happened later in the morning. I'll come back and speak about that in just a moment. But I'd like to introduce Captain Ryan for just a moment, if he can fill in some details about the original event which started in his city, and then I'll come back and we can talk about the second event. Captain Ryan.
Good afternoon. Yesterday at about 5:10 p.m., Compton Sheriff's Station received a call of shots fired in the vicinity of Long Beach and Atlantic Avenue. When deputies responded to the scene, initially there were no victims or witnesses that they were able to locate. Once they were out there for a period of time, a victim did make himself known to the deputies, and then sometime after that we learned that the Long Beach detectives were in the vicinity and had actually witnessed the shooting. After the shooting occurred, the Long Beach detectives followed the 3 suspects in their vehicle out to Alondra Boulevard, and in the area of Alondra and Atlantic, the detectives were fired on by the suspects. So the Sheriff's Department investigators are working closely with the Long Beach Police Department investigators in this investigation. The investigation is still ongoing, and again, we are working closely together, and that's the basic information that I have for you at this time.
What's your first name again, please?
Bill.
Bill, thank you.
Could you spell your last name, please?
R-Y-A-N.
Thanks, Captain. Later in the morning, at about 12:03 a.m., Long Beach Police Department officers were dispatched to the 5200 block of East 2nd Street in East Long Beach, where an officer-involved shooting ultimately occurred. The call originated by citizens reporting that a male subject had smashed a window to a local business, and that subject was being followed and attempting to be detained by some of these citizens that were making the report. A patrol officer was dispatched to the call and was able to locate the suspect in the 5200 block of East 2nd Street. He attempted to arrest the suspect and place him under arrest, and the suspect refused. The suspect in this case was described as a male, about 5'9", over 300 pounds. The officer was substantially smaller than the suspect was, and during the while attempting to arrest the suspect was able to disarm the officer of his police baton. The officer then fired his weapon, striking the suspect, who is in critical condition and is at a local hospital. The suspect at this point can only be identified as a 25-year-old resident from Anaheim. Our detectives are still investigating this to verify identity. And he is in critical but stable condition at a local hospital. And with that, I guess I will answer some questions as best I can, recognizing that much of what we're talking about here today is less than 24 hours old, and the investigations are all still developing.
Captain, can you give us an idea of the officers involved in these shootings, and it's for both of you? Can you tell us how many years, how long they've been on the force, that kind of thing?
Okay, that would be for us in Long Beach here. They're all veteran officers between 5 and 15 years on the job.
And that's for the officers in the first shooting and in the second shooting?
That's correct.
How many years specifically did the officer in the second shooting?
I don't have the specific number of years to each one. I can give you a general range for both events.
Okay, and so they're all veteran officers with how many years?
5 to 15 years.
5 to 15 years.
The wounding of the officer and the friendly fire possibility, is that indicative of the fact that a lot of shots were fired at the time?
It's still unclear exactly what the specific circumstance was that resulted in the injury. The detectives are still working that out. I can't be absolutely conclusive that this was because of multiple shots fired or just the proximity of where the personnel were standing when this event unfolded.
It was not from the suspect's weapons.
We are not certain of that yet. However, based on the preliminary information that the detectives have, it would appear that one of our own officers was responsible for the injury to the other officer.